going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go.
Hey,
What's going on today?
hey, I'm good. I'm doing good, Osiris. I'm so happy you invited me. I've been looking at you, going, when is he going to ask me? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely have been wanting to make my way around for quite some time, especially when I saw that you we connected after I had that interview with Chad. I think we connected shortly afterwards, and I'm like, okay, when is actually a good time to reach out and ask her would she like to be on? So I felt like I needed to build some credibility. I'm like, okay, when you started climbing up the ranks with filmmakers and you start hitting the Emmy Award winners or nominated Emmys or Oscars and things like that, you got to come correct. So I wanted to build something, and okay, I feel now I'm in a good point where I think I can reach out to her. I probably could have reached out to you the whole time though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll tell you a secret. You could have reached out to me 2 seconds after I followed you.
Yeah.
just because we have an Emmy or an Oscar doesn't mean we're untouchable. Just know that,
For sure.
Some of us,
Yeah.
some people are harder to reach, obviously, when they're like an actor or, big time director or have a giant following. But if it's someone like me who was a journeyman filmmaker, got their Emmy for producing on something like The Amazing Race, we're pretty reachable.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I was definitely like, because when I reached out to Chad, too, and I'll talk about that one later. When I reached out to him, I was like, boy, this is going to be okay. How am I going to? Because though I'm like confident or on the surface, I appear like, oh, he's squared away. I'm like, oh yeah, but I still have to pitch to everyone. Even though the platform right now seems to be really in a good place in an establishment, I still feel like that those butterflies of how am I going to pitch this to someone?
Well, I'll tell you, those butterflies make you relatable, and it makes you easier to say yes to. So don't lose them.
That's one.
Don't lose them. Don't lose your humanity in that sense. Like
Oh,
if you approach people like with like that sense of confidence, like, well, you better say yes to me. Why would I want to say yes to that, right? So yeah, that's just a little nugget for anyone listening. You want to approach when you're an artist and you work in this industry or any industry as an artist, you're dealing with people who are vulnerable, who do put themselves out there. And so think about that, right? That means they're attracted to other people who are like that. So I would just say you were coming correct the whole time. I will tell you something to make you laugh. I'm assuming you reached out to Chad after he made that post where he said, if you have a podcast, invite me on.
Right.
And I did too. We were probably 1 and 2. He chose you. So you won.
Oh. Oh, okay.
I would have chosen you anyway too. He probably saw that you were dropping and I wasn't. So
oh, yeah.
I would have edited his right away and given him his stuff. But anyway.
Yeah. That's a funny story. Well, while on the topic about getting started, So you always wanted to be in the filmmaking business since childhood. And so let's talk about that. I know a lot of this ties back into your film. So hey, the floor is yours. Like, so the big question that I want to pop it off with you is how did you effectively get started with being a filmmaker?
Well, I would say it was when I was 8. I mean, really, because being a filmmaker is a mindset. It comes from inside you. Whether you're a writer, a director, writer-director, one of the craftspeople, like a props person or whatever, um, or an actor. Um, if you're in this business or theater or one of those, it's really it comes from a place inside, like it's you. So you can't even imagine doing something else. If you tried putting me in any other industry, I would be I'd be an unhoused person within a month. I would not thrive. I would not know how to thrive. Um, and it's so when I was 8, I went to a movie called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Some of your older listeners will know it. If your younger listeners haven't, they should go find it. It's one of Spielberg's earlier films, and it's one of his best to this day. But I left that theater. It was a sister day. I'm the youngest of 6, and I was born in 1970, so I'm firmly Gen X. And I'm going to be 55 in 7 days. My birthday's coming up.
Oh wow! So where you were in your 30s?
I know. This is a result of not getting into relationships with no respect to current company with men or women. I just don't like relationships. Anyway, but that's why I'm the blissful spinster. But
yeah.
Anyway, so my sister was 13 years older than me. She took me to the movie and we leave and she's like, what did you think? And I said, I want to do that. And she said, what, be abducted? Because the story in the film, one of the stories, I'm not going to ruin too much of the film if you haven't seen it, but there's a little boy, he's about 3 or 4 and he gets abducted by aliens. And she thought I was relating to the little boy in the film, so she made a joke. And I said, no, I want to make that. And somehow my little 8-year-old brain had figured out that I didn't know the name Spielberg yet, but I soon would. By the time I was 9, I knew everything about. I'm obsessive that way. I'm ADHD. I'm a little neurospicy on the spectrum here or there. So when I focus, I focus. But I knew I'd figured out that someone had put that story visually together for me to be entertained by, and I was hooked. It's all I wanted to do. And I lived in Mexico City, so I'm a third culture kid. So I was born in New Hampshire, but we moved to Mexico when I was 1. And I lived there till I was 19. So literally my whole growing up. So it wasn't like I had, like in Los Angeles where I live now, they've got bookstores and back then even more so. Like now a lot of it's online, but you could go to physically a bookstore and look at screenplays and buy them, like old screenplays and stuff like that. But so I didn't have access to that necessarily, but I had access to plays and I had access to writing. And I started writing short stories immediately. And then I'd written my first spec TV script for a show called Moonlighting, which was in the 80s. It was Bruce Willis's first, his breakout role. And Sybil Shepherd was in it with him. And I believe you can find it now. You couldn't for many years because of the music rights, kind of like Northern Exposure, which you can now find because they worked that out. But it had to this day, some of the best writing and the sense of banter. And the scripts were like twice as long as normal scripts because of the speed at which they would deliver it. And so I was very attracted to that as a writer. And I was in 7th grade. I have it still. It's handwritten. I found it the other day. I had it from a spiral.
Oh, no way. That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, and then the other thing that, you know, like I think a Christmas present to me when I was 9 or 10, Premiere Magazine had just started. And at the time it was an actual serious filmmakers magazine. I don't know if it's still around, but I think in its later years, it became a little more like Us. But back then it was serious conversations, like serious articles on film and, you know, whether it was special effects or whether it was, you know, directors in interviews and stuff like that. So I would, you know, read that. But I also, discovered that they were filming American films near my house. And so a lot of American films came to Mexico because it was cheaper to film there in the 80s and the late 70s. And I was walking one day and there's a giant house in my neighborhood. I lived in a neighborhood called Polanco, in an area of Polanco that wasn't as, everyone calls Polanco the Beverly Hills of Mexico City. It is kind of today. Back then that was a neighborhood called Lomas. I'm not going to say it wasn't a well-off neighborhood, but it wasn't, like all the mansions and stuff, but there was a mansion near me, that had been the hacienda house for when it was just land. And all of it had been cut down to a giant yard in this house in the middle of this block. And they're all gates and walls in Mexico City. Okay. It's not like you have yards and you see the front door, but I was walking by the big gate and it flies open and this man comes out and runs into me and I look up and I'm like, "You're Jack Lemmon." And I'm 9. I'm a little American kid, you know, in Mexico City who speaks English, who recognizes a 50-year-old actor named Jack Lemmon, right? And he's completely like disarmed by this. He's like, you know, and he's like, and I believe his first question was like, "How do you know that?" And I'm like, my parents, they love you. Like, and so I'd been watching him, you know, for a long time. And, you know, we chatted a little bit and he said, "Why don't you come back tomorrow? I'll get you on set." And I said, "Okay." And that was the first set I ever walked on. So I was sitting there watching Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek being directed by Cris Graves in a film called Missing, which, if you haven't seen, is really, really good. It's actually fairly relevant to what's going on in our country today. It takes place in Chile, right around Pinochet taking over. And it's based on a true story of an American journalist who gets disappeared. And Jack Lemmon plays his dad, and Sissy Spacek, who lived there with him as his wife, trying to find him. I'm not going to give it up. It was banned in the US for a few years because it told too much of the truth, because the CIA was involved. And that's what they discovered on their journey. If you like Pedro Pascal, which how could you not? He talks about Missing and how when he watched it, it made him cry. He almost couldn't get through it because his mom had a night like it's depicted with the wife. Because his parents, the reason he was in the U.S. and his family was in the U.S. is because they were fleeing from Pinochet. They were activists. So anyway, it's a good film, but that's like, I'm 9 watching this. I don't know, until I was older, I was like, how the hell did that happen? Like, it could have been any film, right? It could have been anything. Right? There I was, right? But the minute I stepped on that set, I was home. This feeling, you know, and that feeling has never left. It could be my friend's short film. Like, I just helped friends make a 48-hour film. He's a serial, he calls himself a timed film director. He's been doing it for years. The film actually made it into best of, and I don't know if it won anything, but I know it got nominated for a couple of things. But he won best of and went to the world ones at one point. But I mean, I was on that set, same feeling. You know, I might have an Emmy, but the reason I have an Emmy is because I love making this stuff. It's not because of anything other than that, you know, and, you know, so anyway, to shorten this, you know, like, because now we're in my childhood and you don't have all day to hear my whole journey, but, because it's filled with many, many stories. But yeah, I was very, very focused. I was this was what I was going to do. There was no dissuading me. I worked theater. I did photography. So I was either in theater as in technical, because I liked writing and everything else, not acting. Much to my chagrin, my senior year, I was put in a play, because the theater teacher thought she was doing me a favor. Because, why wouldn't a kid want to be on stage? And I'm like, no. And then I had one line and screwed it up every performance. But it's okay. The reality is, if you want to be a director and a writer, you should take acting classes. You should get over that, because you need to learn how to communicate to everyone when you're directing them. You should know what an actor's what their process is, and they're all different. But if you take an acting class, you get along with them, you get to be in their shoes, and it makes you better as a director. And that's why some actors that we know who have become directors, a lot of the reason they're really good is because of the fact that they've acted, but anyway, I was very focused. I did photography as in darkroom. Like, I smelled like darkroom chemicals all through high school, because by the time I was a senior, I was the photo editor for the yearbook and the newspaper.
Oh, wow.
And I got A's in art classes and in PE, and mini D's in everything else. I do not know. I do actually know how I got into college, but I didn't at the time. When I got into college, I got into one college, New England College. It didn't have a film program, so I studied theater, which is for a writer and a director, you should study theater for filming.
Agreed.
Film comes from theater. You should, if you haven't, you should read Aristotle's Poetics. It's where it all comes from. There are only 25 stories.
Yeah.
It's just in the way you tell them, So I was a technical theater major, scene design, lighting design. I was also English creative writing. I also wrote plays and directed them. My senior project was a one act that I wrote called 7 to 2. This is going to blow your mind. This is how long, I bet they can sneak in. But I wrote a one act called 7 to 2 Right to Privacy. And if you know anything about reproductive rights, you would know that was the Supreme Court breakdown of Roe v. Wade becoming being won, and our reproductive rights being won in 1973. And in the 90s, it was super scary for a woman. They were bombing abortion clinics and Planned Parenthood. Like, if I don't know, like, I've talked to countless younger people who are in activism and stuff, and they haven't gone back too far. Like, yeah, Dobbs' decision destroyed it, but this fight's been going on since, I would say, probably 4 or 5 years after Roe v. Wade, because it wasn't actually, if you look back, it wasn't a big deal when it happened. Like, the church really wasn't fighting it. That was a backroom deal that happened with conservatives. Like, what we're seeing today and everything, those were all seeds planted in the 70s that are now coming to fruition. And then, it's exhausting, but we still have to fight, and we still have to find our radical joy within that fight, or they win.
For sure.
But anyway, so that was just to let you know, like, all of that's always been in my DNA as a creator. And then I went to grad school for theater technology at University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, directly after. I do want to make a point that I think education and college is great. If you're wondering about film school, the wonderful thing about film school is the network you build. I don't necessarily think if you have the money and you're not going to put yourself in debt, sure. If you are like have your parent, whatever it is, that little pot of money, I would move to somewhere where you want to make films and make friends, and start without it, because you don't need it. You learn, filmmaking and being on set is such a hands-on learning experience anyway. But it is your network that you have to build. I'm just saying that I still have my student loans, is all I'm saying. I know millennials think that the breakdown of the student loan system happened with them. It started with Gen X, but we're okay. We're forgotten all the time, so it's okay. But no, it was supposed to be forgiven because grad school is 25 years. It was supposed to be forgiven this October. All went away for me. Like, I cannot get rid of it. I'm going to die with my student loans from grad school. Yeah. So I would just, you can, especially you have this tool.
Yes.
I didn't have this. I had like the reason I was working in theater is because it was easy and I didn't have to buy a thing, right? The reason ask him, the reason Spike Lee went to film school was to get access to the gear. It wasn't because he wanted to learn, like, from the teachers. I mean, I'm sure he did, but it was the access to the gear, right? So that's why I say you can find classes on YouTube University. If anyone wants to look me up and look at my website, look at my, like, all of it, YouTube University. I did that website by myself. I did not hire someone to make it, and but so I'm just saying, take it from me that you have all the tools available to do it on your own. And if you're going to get some money for college, put it aside and do something, like move somewhere or make your short film or do something rather than actually go to school, unless it's going to be not a financial burden to you.
Thank you for sharing all the information about how you got into filmmaking and that immediate love that you grasped onto when you got onto that set. And that's so relatable, because I remember when my very first time on a film set was on Drop Dead Diva season 1, and I was an extra, just an extra on that episode. And I had never been in a film set before. I had been drawn to films since I watched The Lion King as a kid, and I just loved what it represented, and how I felt when I watched it. And then I felt the same with Aladdin, and then James Bond. I know that's a huge shift. Titanic, and then The Godfather, and I just felt that, wow, I can love all these films in these different genres. There's something that's there. But once I was on that film set, it was in 2009, I think, or 2010. And as soon as it was in some big mix, and they had people everywhere, and they had and we went to a soundstage, and it was beautiful. But to this day, I never forgot that feeling. I did at some points lose myself, ended up joining the military and everything else, and completely lost my vision. But now I'm back in the game, and it's awesome. But no, I can relate to you on that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask too, another question of which we can relate to, which is to our buddy Chad, with Chad Sanders. And so with Chad, I have been following him, not for many years, because I wasn't on social media until about a year ago, thanks to my wife, who had the vision to say, hey, you actually now have something that you can use to propel yourself in a way that doesn't have to deal with drama. A lot of social media, the reason why I stepped away from it for a long time, I wasn't in it as a business perspective. I was just in it to keep in touch with people who I met throughout my time. But there was no actual focus on, like, filmmakers or creatives. It was just random people. And it's just the feed, the news feed, and it was just toxic. It was bad. So I bounced for a long time, and I recently came back. It has been good ever since. But with Chad, what he had been able to do for me was really, one, he gave me an opportunity with the show, and then I saw it, and it's weird how it worked out, because I actually have been wanting to have him on and he was one of the ones who I felt compelled to just hit up, even though he had a massive following as well. But something in me just told me to reach out to him. So I did. I actually reached out to him, and I never heard from him. But this was before he put that thing
Yeah.
out. And then I feel, okay, maybe he was busy, maybe it was in the way that I came. Okay, disregard. Several months later, that's when, he had mentioned about the post that he put out about, hey, I'm gonna pretty much giving somebody an opportunity to do it. And I had spent a long time with this platform at that point, knowing that I know what I can do. Let me just shoot him a direct message and just kind of come at him completely different. And then he responded back to me. And once we talked, ironically enough, when I had him on, there was an issue with the camera and everything. He was ready to leave.
Yeah.
He was like, man, I don't have, I don't know. It was, we couldn't figure out what it was, but then learned that it was the browser he was using. I think he went to Chrome or Edge. He was using one or the other. Well, once he swapped
he
to
was
the opposite.
probably using Edge then, because Chrome is what, like I went specifically to Chrome for you, because Riverside is was made for Chrome. They say it doesn't have a problem with Safari anymore, but I don't trust them because I had issues in the begining with
Interesting.
Safari.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah, so if you just tell everyone to be on Chrome, that's what I do. But you can cut this out if you want. That's just a little technical background thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you, because.
Yeah. But anyway,
like,
so Chad was on the wrong browser, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, but like what he's been able to do was just act as a mentor. I know he has different training sessions and things where he helps people, and that's where I want to get you into the mix as well, because you've known him for a while, but you are also one that's working with him in that. And I'm curious to know what your experience has been with Chad. He's so focused on helping people in specifics. And I see it even with the feed that he does when he's providing just free information. But of course, going into it and talking to him, when we talked offline, he gave me some nuggets. I used to wear glasses. He's the one who told me, don't do it. He didn't say it like that, like, don't do it. He said, hey, like, bro, like, you should probably, here's some advice, man, take the glasses off. Like, the camera registers your eyes, and the way he worded it, and I know he was telling the truth because he has a background in tech. And so I said, you know what? I'll do it. I'll take the glasses off. And yeah, and so here I am. But what's your experience with him?
Well, so Chad came across my feed 3-4 years ago. I don't know. It was somewhere. He was getting ready to launch a book. And he just struck me as someone, because he was just talking at the time. It wasn't about what the version we see Chad right now, which is super trying to help people and get them, because he was on his own journey, which is because I've seen it from before he made his pivot. I know he's not talking BS, right? Because how many people do we see out there talking about, I've got this coaching thing, let me help you, let me, and I've gone to a zillion free, come see this thing, this free coaching thing. And then, and then it turns into a sales call, which fair, they're giving me an hour of their time. I should give them half an hour for them to pitch me their $6,000 coaching program that I couldn't afford in a million years. Right.
Yeah.
So, did I get a little nugget out of it? Maybe. Did I not? I still got a nugget by understanding what that universe is. Right. So you can get a lesson from anything if you choose to be open to the lessons. So I started following him quite a while ago, and just I loved how in your face he was about everything. He was like, he didn't seem to care that he was going to get blowback for anything he might say. And when I found him, it was, I want to say it was right after, it was probably 2021 or 2022, somewhere around there. And so that was the beginning of the crumbling of entertainment business, the traditional Hollywood like systems that we've seen. The studios bought into the tech bros, and then the tech bros destroyed the studios, is in very simple terms. And if you're out there thinking you're going to sell something in the traditional way, you're out of your mind.
Yeah,
I
you
would
are.
say. If you do, you are in the 1% out there. And I will guarantee there's some connection you had from the before times that somehow helped you. And it's possible that your project has something to do with a reimagining or a reboot of something old.
Yep.
You know? And the studios have adopted the risk. They were already risk averse. They are super risk adverse now. And that, I think, is a symptom from the tech world, where the tech world wants to, even though it's about venture capitalists and taking risk, it really isn't at a certain point. It's really about, is this a tested thing and a true thing that we can make money from? And when you marry that mentality to storytelling, you get what we see now, which is reboot after reboot after, sequel after sequel. And it's like, I saw someone, what did I see the other day? There's something being remade that I'm just completely like, no, there's no reason. If it was a crappy film, sure, and you've got a good idea, sure. But if it was already a good film, leave it alone. Come up with your own thing.
Absolutely.
Anyway, and then we've got AI coming into, and to be honest, I think we need to wait out to see how it kind of settles. Every new technology that comes in causes a dust up. You had it when film went to digital. You had it when, going from Moviola to Avid to the edit systems we see now. You had it, it's like, I do not think, in the end, I do not think that actors and writers and directors and certain things are going to get replaced by AI, because AI doesn't have a point of view. I can't remember who I heard saying that. There's someone, I wish I did so I could give them, but I did not say that. I got it from someone, but it is true. AI does not have a point of view, and it's a point of view that makes the story connect. And
absolutely.
And the only way you get that is from human beings. And on top of that, when a writer writes something, or a writer-director, I consider a script a conversation. I do not consider a script a blueprint. I actually did a reel about that, and had some interesting conversations with a couple people, who are, and not to blame. Listen, if you want to think of it as a blueprint and that's what helps you write, go at it. I'm not telling you this to change your mind completely. I'm telling you how I think of it to make my writing better. And if it's something that resonates with someone, that's fantastic. If they've never thought of it that way, and that's the thing that gets them beyond their writer's block, because they were thinking about it as a blueprint, and they're like, well, what is my roof? Like however they want to do it. But when they think of it as a conversation, it makes it easier. That's what I'm about when I'm delivering something about that, right? And so the reason I call it a conversation is because a script, whoever it touches, you need to be able to communicate your vision within your script. And that's done through conversation, right? And so if I have gone about the business, I have done everything on a film set imaginable, and on a theater stage. And I've gone to the point, I took an acting class, an 8-week acting class at one of the studios here in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. And I have stage fright. Like, I'm afraid of very few things in life. The thing I did have and have had is stage fright. And I'd been working on it. like this whole time. And the final thing was, okay, take an acting class. And my graduate school is going to be to take an improv class. I just don't have the money yet. So,
Yeah.
but I'm looking at, do I go to a groundlings class or something else? But anyway, because I'm always about making myself better. Um, even if and moving your stuff forward one step at a time can also include making yourself a little bit better so you understand.
Yeah.
But anyway, but back to being a conversation, everyone who's touching your script, it's a conversation with your DP, it's a conversation with the actor, it's even a conversation once it's up on screen with your audience. So getting to know all of how your film is made and what the production designer thinks about, what the DP thinks about, what the actor thinks about. When you have that in your head and you're writing from that viewpoint of I'm writing my story as a conversation, everyone who touches your script is now going to feel empowered to have that conversation with you and to understand your vision and then to add to it. Because that's what is beautiful about film. It's a collaboration. It's a union it's a group of people who've decided they can be vulnerable with each other because that's your biggest strength. Being vulnerable with your DP, your production designer is also included in that. It's not just writing a script from your heart that you're vulnerable with. It's also allowing everyone to be vulnerable enough to throw out the bad idea, because the bad idea might be the brilliant idea. And they will then, because they feel included in a conversation, they will then elevate your vision. Right? And so that's why I call a script a conversation.
I glanced. So was that your Emmy? That was
that was my Emmy. On the wide, it was in the shot. The reason I did this, and it also has this. It says,
"All you need is love and a cat." Yes.
So when I talked to Chad the first time, that I usually sit for my Zooms because I work from my couch, because I'm a lazy Virgo who works from their couch, and behind me I had that because I think it's funny when I'm on Zooms for work or for whatever, and he loved it, and then he found out I had an Emmy, and then we had this deep conversation about because I told him, well, it doesn't get you work. Like, everyone thinks that you have an Emmy and you get work. And I'm like, it gets you in a room every once in a while to pitch something sometimes. And is it the first line of my bio? Sure. But I will tell you that I got like reamed by my best friend because I didn't have that. I think I had it in my last line. She goes, no, this goes here. Like I'm not, it's not my natural order to walk around with my Emmy, right?
No, for sure.
And but it is in my, and Chad laughed and he goes, where is it? And I turn the thing, and it's up on a shelf by my TV, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is my friend Brent came to my house after I'd won it. I lived in a different place, but ever since it has lived in a spot near my television. But I had it somewhere, and he goes, where is it? And he went around my apartment and he found it. And he goes, it lives here, Cris. We have to be taught to, celebrate our own flowers and to show them. Right. And, so anyway, so Chad's like, this is what I want you to do. I want you to, we went through a couple things cause we were talking about Chad, and one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to Chad after following him for several years, and I had, on occasion, chatted with him a little bit because I think I had made a couple comments or had DM'd him like congratulations a couple times when I saw something. And I think I posted a story when cause I got the audiobook of his second book, and I think I did a thing when I was listening to it, all that stuff. Right. And we've connected here and there, small. And then I joined his school when it first started. I was one of the first 100 or whatever he had. And we started chatting, and it was interesting because I made him laugh. That was in March, and I had this thing happen to me in March. Well, before I get to that, I've been on this. I wrote my script in 2019, just so that everyone knows, because it's going to play into the rest of the Chad story. So I wrote my script, A Lone Girl, in 2019. It's a coming of middle-age story wrapped in an unromantic comedy. So it's the rom-com every woman and person who's felt othered has been looking for, which is she says no to the giant proposal. And then I built it in such a way that the audience is going to find themselves in a very odd spot. They're going to be cheering for her to say no, because they're going to know she's not supposed to be married.
Yeah.
And you know, Hollywood likes their rom-coms to end with a coupling. So it's a hard sell, right? But so that script, I wrote it over 6 weeks, the first draft. It's in 29th draft. Always keep working on it. I will admit the last draft was just fixing a couple of typos. But I would say it's probably been through 15 or 16 serious drafts. The rest were tweaking or you know, fixing things, because no matter how many times you've gone through your script and how many people have read them, someone's going to find a typo. I don't know how they appear, but they do. So you know, and it makes me laugh every time. But so the fifth draft of that script I sent to the Austin Film Festival in 2019. First competition I've ever sent a script to. This is not the first script I've written. I've written several. It's the first script I have felt completely like obsessed and passionate about, because it's me. I'm about to be 55. I spent a portion of my life trying to fit into the like in my 30s, I realized that I hadn't been in a real relationship. I was like, is there a problem? Is there something wrong with me? Let me try. And I pretzeled myself into this version of myself that I didn't recognize, that I was making myself depressed. And I realized, I kind of woke up and I was like, you know what? We're being gaslit by the patriarchy. And by the patriarchy, I don't mean I hate men. I mean the patriarchy that is the overarching system we all live under that hurts everyone. It hurts marginalized people, it hurts women, and it hurts men. And it really hurts white men, whether they see it or not. We can see it just this week, and we don't need to get into it, but it's, you know, that's them eating their own tail. And, you know, I don't know how we get out of this, but we'll have to figure something out, because it needs to fall under its own weight at some point. But the roots that I am fighting myself, because there are many roots to the patriarchy. And if many people start fighting and attacking all the roots, that's how it'll eventually come down, I think. I'm not a complete expert. I'm only doing my own corner.
Yeah.
But, you know, as women, we're socialized to think that our happiness is exterior to ourselves, from the first Disney film that is put in.
Yep.
You know, the princess comes up to the king and is like, Dad, I want to go out and find myself. And then they get in a fight, and then finally he goes, okay, go out and find yourself. And what does she find 5 minutes outside of the castle? What does she find? She finds a man. You know, and then the man gives her happiness. And then that translates to, we've heard it 1,000 times. A marriage falls apart because the man's like, I can't be in charge of your happiness. Well, that's what we were socialized for, wasn't it? Both of you, you know? And but happiness is not exterior to ourselves. It comes from here. It comes from us.
Absolutely.
And if we can stop doing that to women, and stop telling women that there is something wrong with them, or they're broken if they're not in a relationship. Because my day job, and I don't want to get into it too much because we'll be on here all day, but my day job's working in true crime. That's how I pay my rent. So I'm a producer on true crime TV shows.
Can I see the Emmy? I'm just curious to see what it looks like up close. Okay, that's pretty. Looks pretty big, actually.
It is big.
Have your name on there. Television, arts, science, a prime time. Oh yeah, and it even wow, Cris Graves. Oh, they do put the name on there.
Yeah. So you get this the night of, and then a couple weeks later, a package comes and it has this on and a specific like they send you the screwdriver and then you put it on yourself.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
you are not allowed to sell or give this to anyone. You can only bequeath it to a family member.
yep.
Or it goes
Makes
back,
sense.
or it goes back to the academy, which I always thought was funny. Because
Yeah, no,
like,
interesting.
if you need money, can't you sell your Emmy? No.
No.
But it's
They do-
heavy and this is very sharp, so you need to be careful.
Yeah.
And I almost gutted I won the year that like the show Heroes was on.
Yeah.
And I almost I can't remember which one. It was like a tall, lanky actor. But I had it. We were in the Disney Hall because it was an after party where Duran Duran had just played, and I was like, "What universe did I just transport into?" Because not everyone who's in Hollywood actually goes to those parties.
For sure.
So, but I had my Emmy, and I turned around, and they had turned around, and I almost stabbed someone to death with it, and it was
Like almost.
yeah, he almost got shish kebab by my Emmy, and it was funny.
No way.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, right? Because earlier you had mentioned that the Emmy doesn't necessarily give you work, and I know there's just perception, right, that these awards lead to people getting a lot of work. I've even heard this to be the case with when there's actors who win Oscars, and not for everyone, but there's some actors who have won Academy Awards, but you don't see them anywhere.
Mhm.
And then I would later hear, hey, like this having this Academy Award didn't necessarily get me put into different rooms of Hollywood,
Yeah.
which brings it back to the conversation
Mhm.
that we had earlier regarding with Chad, and that you and I had beforehand about branding yourself and getting yourself
Yeah.
out there and actually building a platform for yourself that you can then go and say, hey, I'm the brand, and wherever I go, there's sure to be some sort of a following that I've amassed, that where I put out my own project, I have my own army. Maybe other people might pick up on that and want to do a partnership. And I've seen that to be the case. Like, for example, NBA players who built this aura around themselves. I guess I can use LeBron James as an example, since he's probably widely known as the most famous basketball player currently playing. And when LeBron coming out of high school, going straight into the league, the NBA, for those who don't know, going straight into the NBA and being able to establish himself out the gate as a high profile NBA player, that came with a lot of endorsements. That came with a lot of marketing, a lot of brands, brand deals, and then Nike in particular decided to have him be the face of Nike. But now he's the face of himself. Like, the name LeBron James is synonymous with all things regarding sports. Even though he's an NBA player, kind of like Michael Jordan, and the Jays represent Michael Jordan. But for us, right, Cris Graves or Osiris or Chad Sanders, right? We have our own. My following is not a mess like you all's. I think I have like maybe like 15, 16,000 total across social media. I think you all are well beyond that. But we all got to start somewhere, right?
I'm not that beyond. I'm approaching 4,000 right now on IG. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, but
Yeah.
I think as long as there's an audience that they fostered, I think that's a start, because many people don't even have that. They rely heavily on their celebrity, or being told they're good enough, or, hey, I'll call you if we need you. Like for you, right? And this will probably be my last question before I end up letting you go. And it's probably going to have like a nice long answer, because that's what I'm hoping for. But to encompass what I was talking about with the Emmy, about it not really being of help for you, how has it been for you establishing yourself as a brand from the yellow awesome hat or skull cap to the color concept that you use with that and how it represents you as a whole? How has that been for you?
Okay. I'm just going to finish up the previous thing because you didn't have an ending to it, just so you know, before you left. And then I'm going to jump to the, okay. No, don't worry about it. It's the editor in my, so I'm protecting you.
Thank you.
Yeah. My day job is working in true crime. So I'm the producer who goes out, does the interviews, gets to know the people. And I also go into post and I put the stories together with, the editors, which is in fact what I'm doing, just starting on this week. Cause I finished 2 shoots and that's where Singer, the little kitten came. If you end up showing him, he adopted me in Florida. We were in West Palm Beach, shooting a story about a couple who was murdered in Singer Island in the 90s. And I often make a joke that if you see me come to your town, something bad probably happened 20 or 30 years ago.
Oh
So,
boy.
one of the things what was interesting is I wrote the script, A Lone Girl, before, I kind of was working more in true crime. And the reason I work in true crime is because, I can give it 100% and still have enough time, enough energy left to do the other things I'm trying to do with my film, with my branding, with my whatever, right? And that's another nugget to learn. If you're not independently wealthy, you're going to need a job. If you're working on something personal or getting a film made is like Mount Everest. It is a giant task, especially for the writer director who's the first person who's the vision holder, right? And you need to look at it in steps, and you do not have time today for me to go through all of the steps I've already been through. But the question you asked that I'm about to answer, you'll get some of that in the answer. But so you want to find something that you can do that you are earning enough to pay your rent and to feed yourself and your bills, but that leaves you energy to do the thing you really want to do. That's the nugget for that. But I work in true crime. The one thing that I found interesting that I kind of played into what I was starting to figure out with the gaslighting of the patriarchy telling me that I was supposed to be something when really I was just happy being single and living with my cats. I love nothing more than to go to the movies alone or to eat alone. Love nothing more than to hang out with my friends either. Like, it's not some zero game. I'm just far more comfortable living on my own. And I hate it when people portray, spinsters, and I'm taking that word and redefining it. That's part of my whole thing, and repurposing it, and giving it my own power. But you see it in film and it's the frame, right? And the spinster's sitting here in a restaurant and the entire place is empty because she's lonely. And I'm like, I'm sorry, if you look at the studies, single older women are the happiest out of every demographic. You know who the unhappiest are? Single older men. Because they don't have no one to take care of them. Like what is that, right? But and we're the ones being portrayed as lonely. So anyway, in true crime, what I've learned that adds to my thing is it's never the whole reason. I don't want to portray this as the whole reason, but by and large, there is a family member or friend who will tell me that this young woman or older woman who stayed too long, because now we're talking about them in past tense, part of the reason, or a small part of the reason, was that they didn't want to leave and be seen as single. How toxic is that we have made being single so like the dirtiest word in women's lexicon, that they won't leave a toxic relationship before they get killed. Right. And now I wrote a comedy. I don't want everyone to think, I'm just saying there's some roots to it there that are interesting. Right. So and I just wanted to bring that up so you had a finishing.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
From the break and why I'd gone on that circuitous path.
No, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm going to relate this back to my conversation with Chad. Although I started my branding work way before Actually probably following. No, actually I probably was starting it after I'd followed Chad. That the branding stuff wasn't Chad. That was just me on my journey learning things and making mistakes along the way. Yeah.
With the blue.
Yeah. So, but it's also intrinsically me. I said I studied scene design and lighting design. Like all of that stuff's important to me. Production design is hugely important to me and I have all the skills to make the props, the whatever, because I studied that. But I also know that color palette's important. Colors are psychologically whatever. But also I know what I'm attracted to when I'm watching a film. If you looked at, you don't have my lookbook. I'm happy to send you my lookbook if you want to see it. But which is my first foray into Photoshop, which I taught myself. And that's the thing, like if you don't know how to do it or you don't see the thing that you're trying to get across for your vision, find a video and teach yourself and do it. That's what I do.
That thought.
Yeah. So, but the hat came a little after me starting to figure out that I was the brand. So I'm going to show you something. One of the first things I did when I started realizing that I wasn't going to get this film made the normal way. Okay. Which means find an investor. And I've come close like 3 times to getting my, what's called development funds, $100,000. And they all fell apart for various reasons, including like getting a call from the guy that was going to give it to me saying, so remember I told you I was getting a divorce? Yeah. She froze my assets. She had the judge literally 2 days before he was supposed to sign the contract. Like, how am I supposed to have control over that? But all of that was me trying to just find an investor, work with a producer. I don't have a, like the traditional producer attached right now. I've had a couple, they're all very fine people. They just, it's a marriage and you need to find the person you want to be married to for years. And of course, I'm also a producer myself. So you also have to be somebody who can deal with me. But I made this series of, cat designs. This is the cat Jack that I told you about that passed away in January. He was my soul cat. He, designed everything with me and was on my chest when I was writing my script. He's in the script. There's a cat in the script. This is his little director thing. This is going to become, there's a sweatshirt that I wore for 2 years to age it that is going to be worn by the lead character with this on it. So it's becoming, it becomes the merch of the film. So my idea was the merch of the film could be launched early and help raise the money for the film. But I launched it as a cat brand instead of tying it to the film because I thought it would be a fun Easter egg to reveal that it was. But in entrepreneurship and business, that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to hide the why. Right? So you can find that I have a Instagram called Posman Prints that you can find. And I was trying to launch that. This is Chadwick's. All 3 cats have redesigns. And you can get them in t-shirts and in sweatshirts and in stickers. That's Bobby. You can tell I like Wes Anderson a little bit. So the idea behind that was I made up this whole thing that it was the Cats brand that they started it because they were trying to help their mom make her film. And I couldn't get sales going. But I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about branding through it. And I also learned that I was the brand, not the cat, right?
Exactly.
Now, you can find this merch on my website because I do think I'm going to fold it in eventually because it's still merch for the film. And I still learned a whole lot. And so the blue and the yellow and all of that, you can also, you'll see it really started with the Instagram for the podcast. And I started the podcast in 2022 as a way to both, document my journey as a first-time filmmaker, but also how it was intersecting with me living as a woman in her late 40s, early 50s as single, and how those two things kind of live together, because the film is really about that too. So the subject matter can be women's empowerment as much as it can be about film. And so um, and I was going full bore. I did the edit. I do all of the social media. I do like everything. I don't have a VA. I don't have, my cats can't use the computer. And while I was doing that, I was also doing this, like trying to figure out this entrepreneurship stuff. And someone's like, go on TikTok. And so I went on TikTok Shop, and it became a nightmare. And, you know, and then, I worked myself into a tiny stroke in my eye, basically, and burnout. And what was happening at the time of all of that was also that I was going into menopause, which women need to talk about more. And because I went into menopause, your estrogen drops, and estrogen is what helps uh, manage ADHD in women differently. That's why it kind of manifests differently in women than men. And so when you lose your estrogen, it wreaks havoc. So I was in that condition trying to edit my podcast and manage a job in post where I was working for story producers and everything else. And I just worked myself into oblivion. So please watch yourselves and take care of yourselves and learn meditation. It saved my life. Learn all of these things. But I have been on this journey since 2020, since December 9th of 2022, to get back to a more healthy balance and still do the things I need to do to get my film made.
Sure.
And I actually think the film is far more relevant today than it was when I wrote it in 2019. Thank you, JD Vance, for making me having a target on my back, because I'm a single thought lady. So I didn't think I'd ever be a politically targeted group, but I guess I am. So cat ladies just spread joy, guys. Cat ladies just spread joy. So but in 2023, when I was trying to come out of my, like, trying to figure out what happened, was I was seeing double out of this eye, and it's healed as of last December. I don't anymore. It's moving fine. But I'd had a tiny stroke in a capillary or something in my eye. And so all of that physically manifested in that. So in 2023, as I'm trying to come out of that and really learn how to manage myself, and I've got a million new doctors, I had already bought tickets to Sundance. I lost my job that I'd had because I couldn't do it, which is fine. It's all part of life and learning and stuff. But I was like, I'm just going to go anyway. And it was exactly what I needed. It got me back in touch with my inspiration and why I was doing what I was doing. Because when you have something like that happen, you're like, am I doing too much? Is it worth it? Is it worth your health? Strokes run in my family. All of that stuff, right? It was scary. But before I went to Sundance, and right before the stroke, I think, this hat came up on my Instagram. It was an Instagram impulse buy, which I think we all have. Sorry, that was a bunch of stuff that just fell.
Oh no.
It was it was an Instagram impulse buy, and it came right before I left for Sundance, and I took it with me. And it happened to be in the color palette of my film. And so when I built the Instagram for the podcast, if you look at it, it's got these 5 colors that are all part of the podcast, of the film's color palette, which I drew from my lookbook. And I'd already had in my head, I'm going to build all of this out. I've never taken a marketing class. I've never taken anything. It's just instinct. And of course I get told by people who are like, oh, that's brilliant. That's whatever, follow your instincts, whether it's something cringe, because people could think this is cringe, whatever, do it. You're going to find your tribe. You're going to find the
Absolutely.
people that, you know, and if your friends think you're funny or whatever, then so what?
Exactly.
You're not
I
making it, you know, you're on a journey to do the thing you love. You know, and they will come on board eventually. I'll guarantee it, you know, and if they
yeah.
don't, it wasn't for them, and that's okay because it's for a lot of other people. So anyway, I go to Sundance and I wear this hat and, I can't tell you how many conversations because a lot of Sundance is just standing in line to get into things and you never know who you're standing with, you know, and it just started a million conversations. And I realized the power of it, and it was in you know, and then they had, Canon had a booth where they were you could sign up to get free headshots. And so I took advantage of it because we all know the power of a good headshot. And, she wanted, because I was being silly and being myself, she's like, oh, I love this. And so there's one that you haven't seen where I'm like grabbing it and whatever. And then I have the one that I normally use on all of my social media. Because I would always take these, like I said, I would take these little, whatever was free that I could learn from or a YouTube thing. And you want to connect your stuff across platforms. And so this is a great connector. If you jump on anything, then you go, oh, that is her. I found her. I found the thing, right? And, is it hot in the summer? Sure. I have a fan on me right now. So I don't sweat, you know? And that's fine, you know? But, it's this great thing. So that's when I started realizing as I was going through 2023 and 2024, I kind of came up with the epiphany that, wait a minute, I'm the brand. I'm the channel. If you're following me and my film, you're following me and all of my likes and dislikes and my mistakes and my, you know, and this isn't a mistake that's a complete mistake. This is this was a great win for me actually because I learned so much. And
That's awesome.
so at the end of 2024, I decided I would revamp the podcast website into my main website, which I called the Blissful Spinster. And I haven't quite figured out how to start a full community. I thought it'd be fun to have the Blissful Spinster community, and give a space for people like me. But I am the Blissful Spinster. And that includes my podcast. It includes my Substack. It includes my website. I stumbled on Substack and I realized, okay, that's where my mailing list should live. You know, like I launch things. They might not be complete, but they're there and I can learn as I go. That's my, talking to writers and, anyone out there who's an artist, stop tinkering with it. Fucking put it out there. Sorry, I used a bad word there, but just put it out there. You can learn as you go. It's good enough. So at the top of 2025, my cat passed away, my soul cat. And then the fires happened and then I was evacuating and all of that happened right when I was going to launch the website. And I had designed these, which eventually I'll be able to figure out how to get sold. But these are affirmation card deck that's with the Blissful Spinster thing. And you'll notice that it has the typewriter and the color, right?
Nice.
And this is my table. This is my kitchen table that I'm on right now. Like find things that are in your house too. Like it's just, I love being creative. But so these eventually, I'll figure out how to get these going, but they're on my stores right now.
Yeah, good for you.
But the proceeds from this will go to the film.
Good stuff.
Right? So it's all learning these things because you know, a Blissful Spinster daily affirmation card deck really does play into the film, right? And, and the whole thing, right? And so, take your thing, the thing you're making, your script, your graphic novel, and look at it and go, what are the things in here that I can then turn into something else that I can share, right? Like that's how I was thinking about it, right? Because with traditional Hollywood crumbling, how do I figure out how to get my film made in a creative way? And so that's what all of this has been a part of. And then when Chad launched his school, I went on it and it was free and that was great. And I had access to him a little bit. And then I had, so at the same time when I signed up, I had accidentally become an organizer for the national parks, because in March, you know, it was when that all started, and I wanted to go to a protest, and I couldn't find one that was near LA. They were 2 hours away. It was either Joshua Tree or Channel Islands. And I went on, it was a site called Resistance Rangers, and I DM'd them and I said, what about Los Angeles? I know we have a national park in the mountains. And they're like, well, you could organize it. And, you know, I wasn't working. I was because I'd lost my job because of the fire. Like, it went away. And I was like, I'm a producer. I guess you're right. I know how to get a fucking permit, you know? And so they had a thing, and I signed up, and I honestly thought I was going to show up to the the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area by myself with a sign. That's what I thought I was going to do. And I made a Canva post and said, this is happening. I wrote an email. They called it out on Wednesday night. I made the post that I was doing the LA one, and when I woke up, it had been shared, and I was like, and I had looked on the site, and it said if it's 25 people and under, you don't need a permit. I was like, okay, I need to write a letter to the park and get a permit. And I'm like, I know this is last minute, but could you please expedite this? You know, I love you guys and I really want to fight for you guys. And they're like, well, it is last minute, but we'll expedite. And then I got to know them all. But they issued me a permit. It's free to get a permit for First Amendment. It's $100 and something for other things. Cause I clicked on that first. I go, I don't have $160. Like I had like $5 in my bank account, you know?
Oh, no, for sure.
And then I was, I clicked the wrong thing, you know? And so, you know, the producer kicked in, and all of a sudden the LA Times was contacting me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, you can interview me there. And I got there, and like 110 people showed up, and it was really the power of one, right? And I made a tiny little video. You can find it on my grid. That it was literally just words and a song and then photos. And I had a videographer had shown up, which is what I was hoping. And we're friends now. His name's Josh. And all he likes to do is offer his time to things like that and do environmental stuff. But I said, do you have your camera? And I said, can you take a picture of me, and then me with a couple people, and then me with a couple more people? Because half of these battles is actually probably 75% of the battles is social media. It's showing that you showed up, and it's showing the impact. And so what I had this idea was to show the power of one by showing myself, and then how many people showed up around me. And then I ended up in the LA Times. I ended up in like some story at the Santa Monica College newspaper. I ended up in a couple of news reports that interviewed me, you know, and I was like, what is this? But that video went, that real, like, it's over 150,000, and it's like over 12,000 likes, and I can't remember how many shares. And so basically Chad said that one thing, and then because I was strapped, I had a bit of a financial, like, I almost got evicted, but, and you can go to my socials and see that journey too. Part of my branding is being extremely open and just whatever's going on and vulnerable. Because I do think that's how you connect best with everyone. And I also don't, that's the problem. Part of why I ended up having, like, after I had my burnout session, I was told by a producer that I had on to not talk about it. And it actually really adversely affected my mental state, because I don't operate that way. And I also think that's the system of old, and I don't think it's healthy. And artists are, as I said, we're just filled with all kinds of things, and we should share, and we
Yeah, I
shouldn't
mean,
gatekeep. And so that's the journey I'm on now. And so I'm on my ramp up now, and I have a job. I started working on a true crime show in July, and so I was taking my time to put my money together, and I contacted Chad for a private conversation because um, I wasn't. I didn't have the money to do his calls that he had in the school. I didn't have, and I was in financial free fall, so going to the school wasn't something that my brain could, whatever, right? Yeah. So, but I wanted to I'm much better one-on-one. And so,
yeah, no, good.
and I'm the kind of person you've probably figured out that I have 1,000,001 ideas, and I go off and I do 1,000,000 things, and then I don't know. I need someone to go, this is what you do first, and then you do this, and then you do this, right? And so I got on the call with him, and he was like, first off, I love everything, like the hat, but he was like, when he found out I had an Emmy, he was like, why isn't that in your background? This is about grabbing people's eyes, and I'd never thought of that in my entire life. And he goes, would you do it? And I'm like, sure. And then he goes, okay, let me do a test. If I told you to post 2 videos a day for 2 weeks, I'd have a heart attack. And more because of the work, right? He goes, just of recording them. He goes, okay, how about this? 5 videos a week for 2 weeks. And I go, that I can do. And then he talked to me about some of his process and how, sometimes he just goes off and does them, but sometimes he batches. And so I immediately after that call did my first post, which I think made him very happy. And I art directed a little corner. I can send you a photo of it because you'll laugh of my background. It's literally just a section where I could put the Emmy and the little cat thing behind me, because he wanted me to do it where I had been sitting, and it just like the back of my couch can't support the Emmy. The Emmy space is too big. So I had to, I'm, and I'm a perfectionist and Virgo. So I art direct it, and I'm like, you would have laughed. I'd be sitting there doing this. Is it this? Is it this?
Yeah.
Like, I do all of that, right? And then there's another chair in front of me with my thing that holds my phone, like it's hilarious, right? Everyone thinks we have these gigantic, like great setups. No, it's literally just finding a corner, and art directing it. And I did it. And then the next day I recorded like 7. That's okay. I recorded like 7 videos. I went to town and went, because he also pointed out, he's like, it's one thing, Cris, because you've noticed I like to talk. I'd been having trouble doing videos that were 90 seconds and shorter. It's just like, I'm like, how does somebody do this? But he was like, it's one thing, just do the thing, And so what I gave myself, I'm like, listen, in my head, I'm like, do the recordings. If it goes over, don't let it go over 2 minutes in my head, and so that's what I've been doing. I've been paring them down so they get shorter, but I'm giving myself leeway to be 2 minutes if I need to. Yeah. And
good for you.
And so that's kind of how I do it. And then the hat became a part of the whole thing, and the blues and the whatever. And you just, all of it will Easter egg back to the film. Yeah. And by the way, in the script, the lead character quits her reality job at some point because she works in reality TV because it's based on my life. And ends up starting a podcast. And then, so when I started my podcast, I was really imitating my own art. Right. And so that's a whole other Easter egg and a whole other level. And the truth is, I manifested this version of Cris that you see by writing the script to begin with.
Absolutely.
So,
hey, man, well, wow. You have one heck of a story. And I really appreciate all of the nuggets that you shared, all of the gems that you provided, and all of the, just your journey, and especially the vulnerability. Like vulnerability in this time, in this day and age, especially when it comes to connecting with people, is immensely important. and also knowing who to go to for information is also equally as important. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on board, coming onto the show, and I wish I could definitely keep you on longer, but I definitely gotta roll out. But certainly would like to continue to stay in touch. This episode, I'll make sure I can provide all of the links to your website. I might just share your LinkedIn, but I know that could probably change in the future. So I'll share the actual websites, like the handles, the social media handles, and I'll include the LinkedIn as well in the description of this bio of this episode, both on the video format and the audio only. And it'll be available wherever people listen to their podcast at. So thank you so much for coming on board, Cris.
Well, thank you so much, Osiris. And it's been great to just sit here and chat with you. And maybe next time you'll be on my podcast and I'll be chatting about you. So
yeah, hey, let me know when you're ready for that, and we can get something squared away.
Totally, I'd be
more than happy.
So interested to hear about your graphic novel. So I love creativity and I love people getting to tell their story. So, but I appreciate you and thank you so much for having me on. It's been lovely.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Hey, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to tune in to today's episode. You're live with Osiris and Cris Graves, and that's all we got for you. You all take care. I'll catch you next time.
Meow.